What's up, homies? My name is Mike S, and I want to talk about I'd like to talk about the natural glow of anabolic steroids. Kidding. I'd like to talk about the world's newest billionaire. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Andrew Tulloch. Now, you might be thinking,
$1 million isn't cool. You know what's cool? You?
$1 billion.
and well, you'd be right. $1 billion is way cool. And I want to tell you how Andrew recently became a billionaire. How I'm going to do that is I'm going to take you back to where it all started, as most of these stories start at OpenAI. I'm going to tell you about a company called ThinkingMachinesLab, which I've covered in 2 previous videos. One called Smash Your Pass, a tale of $2 billion startups, and another called AI is not a bubble. And of course, I'm going to do this all in under 5 minutes, so let's get started. So the story really begins on August 1st, 2025. At that point, we became aware, the public, that Zuckerberg had tried to buy ThinkingMachinesLab, again, the startup founded by Mira. At that time, she said no, so Zuckerberg responded with a full-scale raid. In the following weeks, he approached more than 50 of the staff at ThinkingMachinesLab, and spoiler alert, he got his prize target, which is Andrew Tulloch. And so that's kind of the point of this video. Actually, the whole situation really reminds me of that scene from There Will Be Blood.
See, I own everything around it, so of course, I get what's underneath it.
So what exactly was he trying to buy? What is ThinkingMachinesLab? Well, this is just like a whole rabbit hole, right? So they did the largest seed round in history. This was a $2 billion round at a 10 billion pre-money valuation. So the company ThinkingMachinesLab had a $12 billion valuation at the time of Andrew leaving. And there's a real question of what actually they had beyond talent. If you were to go to thinkingmachines.ai today, you wouldn't see a whole lot. This remains the extent of their contributions, with one exception. This is the exception, which, according to my data science friend, is a pretty good paper. The paper is called Defeating Non-Determinism in LLM Inference. But outside of that, they had raised, and by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier. I certainly mentioned it in my previous video called Smash Your Path. That was the largest seed round in history, the $2 billion. And again, we've got a website and we've got a paper. That's all they had for $2 billion. So the specifics of this deal are such that it's reported that he's going to get a $1.5 billion, Andrew Tulloch is. So he traded, in effect, a seeded $2 billion for a company with no product, at least in sight, for cold, hard cash. Actually, like an interesting ripple to this story is that Andrew Tulloch actually worked at Meta for 11 years. He was considered at Meta a distinguished engineer, and get this, he contributed to PyTorch, right? PyTorch, one of the most, if not, alongside TensorFlow, the most impactful language for interfacing with the GPU and generating machine learning models. He was actually on board or part of the team that created it. Of course, Meta is the company that manages that framework. Also, he had worked at OpenAI before coming into Thinking Machines, where he contributed to GPT-4 and GPT-4.5. All told, just a shocking story. And we now have our newest billionaire in the United States. Of course, he is Australian. And it really makes you think, how can I get $1 billion? Like, subscribe, share. And if you're interested, come by my stream. We talk software engineering daily. Peace.